Foundation learning is for young people and adults who are not yet secure at level 2. When we say that, kind of teachers wince a little bit. What do we mean by that? So it's really those students who aren't going to achieve 5 A-star to C at GCSE, including English and mathematics. But then of that cohort, I think we need to subdivide who those students are. Most schools will have in place provision to support young people at D grade, particularly at GCSE. So we're really looking at groups of young people on EFG who a pure diet of 10, 12 GCSEs is not appropriate. It will be young people with learning needs, but it will also be young people who, for a variety of reasons, might be in and out of learning through health or attitude, behaviour to learning. It's not just the straightforward SEN students. The principles that underpin foundation learning are really building on best practice. It's around putting in place a very cohesive, coordinated programme for the students that are entering foundation learning provision. And that programme will have as part of it, it can have some vocational and or subject learning, it'll have some personal and social development, and it'll have the 3 functional skills of English, mathematics and ICT. But the aim is very much to put a programme together that meets the individual needs of the students concerned. It's personalised to their needs, and it has a real clear end goal. Where's the next step in learning that the student wants to achieve, and how can the learning that's put together enable them to access the next step? So it's very much about progression, and it's about ensuring that whatever journey they undertake, it leads to qualifications, to the achievement of qualifications that are recognised. I think the beauty of foundation learning is that providers will put together a programme of learning in very different ways. Some will look in-house at the skill set they have of staff to put a very personalised programme together that's run by teachers within their own environment. Others will work in partnership, looking at sharing learning and sharing the expertise around existing partnerships that have been put together 14 to 19. So you can, in the current climate, put together very different options and pathways for the young people. But why it's really important is about what are we as teachers responsible for. And if we really think about that, we're responsible for all the students in our care, and to make sure that all our students, no matter where they start from, can succeed and can achieve. Against the backdrop of the raising of the participation age by 2015, we are going to have to look longer term about the curriculum offer, because how are we going to keep young people in education or in training with education in a meaningful and purposeful way that will make them want to turn up and engage in their learning? So there's a much wider picture here about making sure that all students have a programme that meets their needs and that enables them to make progress and achieve. I've been fortunate to be working foundation learning for over 3 years now, so I've seen foundation learning evolve over time and in very different contexts. And looking at kind of the difference that it's made, that there are some very distinct differences that are emerging. One is about students attending learning, attending programmes, whereas before perhaps they hadn't. And then what that attendance and engagement in learning has led to. So as a result, they achieve. And as they achieve small units, building up to qualifications, they want to achieve more. So schools and other providers who've been involved in this field are talking about achievement rates increasing. And then, of course, once you have achievement rates and students on-site learning, the next thing is about progression. And I've got some very clear examples of two years ago, one institution, only 20% of their young people went on to either access jobs with training or to go on to FE. 2 years later, 80% of their cohort are now going forward in that way. So that's a huge difference it will make to the lives of those learners. I think the buy-in that then creates is huge, because you need to look at the wider learning as well. Within mainstream, these students will access foundation learning as part of their provision. For example, it might fall within their options system. They will be accessing the statutory core at the same time. So the knock-on effect is that if students are engaged and wanting to turn up to school for their foundation learning, the payoff with some very skillful teaching and a bit of bribery is that they also then behave in the rest of their curriculum. So what you see is a change over time in attitude towards learning that then has a knock-on effect in other subject areas as well. So that's the buy-in for other staff to become involved with this and aware of it. I think that because the framework that the Foundation Learning Programme hangs on is open, deliberately open, because what it's saying to teachers is you are the professionals. You know, this isn't a blank canvas that you've had no experience of working with these young people. Of course you have, and you know what works. The significant difference is that the work that you undertake with them must lead to the achievement of qualifications. And so it's stopping young people just being placed on programmes, on courses that don't lead anywhere. So I think that's the key. But there's lots of help. There's a Foundation Learning catalogue, which you don't have to use, but that contains a raft of qualifications that you can look at and use. There's also qualifications that providers are used to using available that you can then use in this format. The learning being purposeful and the students seeing the purpose and the relevance to what they perhaps want to develop or ultimately want to do is absolutely key to the engagement and motivation. I think what we're learning though pre-16 that's slightly different to post-16 is pre-16 there is an importance about keeping the offer flexible and offering like tasters into different vocational areas and tasters into the development of employment skills, employability. I think it should focus more on the development of the personal and social side, and you can do that through a variety of vocational tasters. But particularly with this cohort of young people at 14, do they always know what they want to be or do? Some do and are very clear, and that's fine. Others don't. So by kind of giving that rotation and the chance to explore different avenues vocationally as well is very important. For then, if they want to go on post-16, it enables colleges and providers working post-16 then to give that vocational expertise, to add the depth to the learning. Some changes are coming in, as people are aware of, under the Ofsted framework, which will just look at 4 areas now: the quality of teaching, learning, leadership and management, and the safety and behaviour of students. So within that, there's a new focus on ensuring that targeted groups of students in particular achieve. And they've listed some students they're particularly interested in looking at. One area is students who are on free school meals or who will access the pupil premium. The other is SEN students, because there is a real need to put support as well as challenge into the system and to make sure that all young people make progress and achieve. And you can see where foundation learners would fit within some of the targeted cohorts. Foundation learning offers a whole range of possibilities and does kind of place at the feet of teachers the possibility of putting into place a very broad curriculum. Now that can in part be done by a centre working on their own. But in reality, over time, what I'm seeing is the need to work in partnership, but also to harness existing expertise. And we have a huge raft of expertise, particularly post-16, with post-16 providers, colleges, work-based training providers, and alternative provision that are very skilled, particularly in vocational areas, in personal social development, and in functional skills. And I think there's some work to be done about growing that capacity, growing that expertise pre-16, so that all the providers involved in this field are aware of who can offer what. And within Hertfordshire at the moment, we have 3 very interesting projects that have been funded by the DFE to actually look at innovative 14 to 19 curricula. And I think we need to watch very closely what the outcomes of those projects will be, because they are looking about building capacity within the system, about how can we support teachers to deliver foundation learning, but also how can we strengthen some of the partnerships that already exist to offer that broader curriculum. As partnerships grow and begin to work together, there are some key questions that they need to focus on. I remember in the early days we became very excited when I was working with one local authority about what we thought we could put on, and I particularly liked this unit around grooming rabbits or pets. But then realised that that's what I wanted to do, the teachers wanted to do, and didn't have a great deal to do with the learners. So I think one thing is about don't lose sight about your cohort of young people, what it is that would motivate and engage them, but also where are they going? Where's the progression route? Are they going into further education? Are they hoping to access an apprenticeship? Are they going into employment with training? And that will help mould the programme that you put together. So it's very much looking at your cohort and where it's going. But there are other things to consider. What can you collectively offer in the partnership? Where does your expertise lie? And how can that be harnessed? Is it best that you join together and deliver one qualification, a very open, flexible qualification, and you deliver different units within it? Or is that not a factor that you need to consider or an avenue that you'd want to go down? Those are decisions to make. But key of all of this is progression, because we've also learnt the hard way that there's some very creative and innovative work that goes on pre-16, but where does it lead post-16? What are the entry requirements for those young people as they move forward post-16? How does what they've learnt pre-16 correlate with that, dovetail to that? Or are barriers going to suddenly arise that need addressing from the start of that learning pathway? I think what we're saying to schools and other providers who are involved in foundation learning is that you've got an opportunity through using this framework of putting programs in place that are innovative, that build on your best practice, that you know will work, but that you also know will engage learners, that will enable them to achieve, and that bite-sized achievement will motivate them to achieve more, so they'll stay in learning and move on and make progress. Foundation learning is also important because of the closing the gap agenda, which is writ quite large at the moment. But if we look beyond that as well, the overall aim is as far as possible to get young people up to level 1, ready to move into level 2, to achieve level 2 qualifications. Level 2 being seen to be a fundamental benchmark for employability, improving their life chances, improving their future and potential earning power. And I don't think we should lose sight of that either.
Foundation Learning is an excellent initiative that has forced us as an awarding organisation to look carefully at what progression might look like from entry level right up through levels 1, level 2, into apprenticeships. Foundation Learning has given us the opportunity to look at new portfolio enhancements within personal social development, functional skills and lower level vocational qualifications. City and Guilds see the opportunity for foundation learners to progress through our qualifications, through the portfolio that we offer, into work, therefore unleashing the talents that we have within our young people. City and Guilds have traditionally had very, very strong links with employers. What we've been able to do is listen to employers, understand the skills that they need, both in terms of vocational training skills, but also the softer skills around personal social development. That insight has enabled us to create a portfolio of qualifications that we believe will help young people to bring out the best in themselves. What we're all aiming for is the opportunity for young people to enter into a career of their choice that will help them to recognise the talent that they have. We have an employability and personal development qualification that has been developed consistently over the last 2 years to pull together all of the things that the tutors, the teachers and employers are saying that they need. We've also listened to the learners, so we now have units within the qualification designed to bring out the best in our young people. What we all hope for is to see clear progression, to see where these qualifications are going to take young people. Employers recognise the City and Guilds brand. They understand the strength of the vocational skills that our young people are able to offer them. What we hope to do by introducing softer skill qualifications around employability and personal development is enable employers to recognise that when they see that certificate from the young person, it says employability with City and Guilds. They know what it means. It'll give those young people a head start on that ladder. Traditionally, City and Guilds have worked very closely with FE colleges and training providers and also employers directly. The Foundation of Learning initiative has actually encouraged us to work more closely with schools and with local authorities. In Hertfordshire, we've worked very closely with the local authority to ensure that the schools that they have within Hertfordshire are able to access our qualifications. This has also led to developing additional units within the qualifications specifically designed for the schools to be able to deliver, to help the learners unleash their talent. The partnership programme that we have, the local authority at the heart of the partnership within Hertfordshire has allowed us to pull together all of the partners working together to make sure that the progression exists to create the right opportunities for the learner to transit from school to college into employment. I'm not sure that those opportunities would have existed so quickly had we not all been working together. Foundation learning forces us all to look at what does the learner need, treat each learner as an individual rather than grouping them all together. What we've tried to do by developing a range of options within the qualifications is to ensure that there's something there that's suitable for every learner, of every ability, something that will engage every learner and help them to unleash their talent. I think foundation learning is a huge challenge. To be able to personalise a learning pathway for somebody is a very difficult thing to do. Immediately what springs to mind is timetabling. How do you timetable these individual activities for these individual young people? What we've been able to do is create qualifications that are able to recognise achievement at every level. So, for instance, employability and personal development gives a tutor the opportunity to bring together a group of learners of mixed ability. Some may be working at entry 2, some may be working at level 1, but they can all be participating in the same activity, and the opportunities are there to evidence the learning outcomes to the level that the learner's actually operating at. It's never going to be easy to do anything new, but what we do know is that there's a lot of good work that already goes on. These young people have always been there. They haven't just arrived. What we're trying to do is make sure that they get an accredited outcome that recognises the skills that they have. I think in Hertfordshire we're very lucky because everybody is trying hard to work together to create the right opportunities. The support network is there too. We've worked hard with the local authority to provide training, support, information events. We're now starting today to run a series of more in-depth training events on the individual qualification. What we hope to do is to give tutors the tools to take back into the classroom to see how they can look at what they're already doing and keep what's good, keep what works, but wrap an accredited outcome around those activities. Today is the first day of what we hope will be many more. Today we have a range of different schools represented from across the county. Boys' schools, girls' schools, mixed schools. I think we even have a special school as well today. So that already tells you that what we're looking at is a group of learners who are from mixed backgrounds, at mixed ability, working at different levels. What we're going to do today is introduce the qualification. It's going to be a daunting task. This is not something that arrives in a box that you unpack, deliver and send away for marking. But that's the beauty of what we've got. So today we're going to show them what is available, where the resources are, where the extra information can be gained, and then we're going to look at some ideas about how they might actually put that into practice. I'm also going to be asking them to think about what they already do and how we can make this fit around that, where the naturally occurring evidence is going to be. I hope today that they walk away full of ideas, full of real tangible things that they can take back into the classroom and work for delivery for September. Most schools and colleges are already delivering something very similar. I think schools will probably know and think mostly of PHSE programmes. So we're thinking about health and well-being, we're thinking about lifestyle and choices. Those are all elements that are included within the qualification. There are units there that exist already. So what we're talking about again is an accredited outcome for something that they're already doing. This will give a learner something that they can put in front of an employer that the employer will understand and be able to recognise as real skills. Schools and colleges will also understand that the personal social development qualifications are not restricted to foundation learning. And we're seeing a lot of these programmes delivered as part of enrichment. At the other end of the scale, we're also seeing the same qualifications used for response to redundancy for perhaps an older person who's trying to retrain to enter back into the workforce. So what we're talking about are qualifications that are designed for everybody, from the very young and the very inexperienced through to those that might have already established skills. We have some new developments for this qualification coming in September, so themed pathways around employability and around enterprise, are looking at the theme of progression. We also know that the new apprenticeship frameworks all contain a requirement now for personal learning and thinking skills. We have units within the qualification designed specifically to reflect those too. What we hope for and what we know is that progression will be different for everybody. But often foundation learners will move on to an apprenticeship. During the pilot phase, 70% of young people went on to an apprenticeship, and that is very much the theme of the day. So if we can help young people prepare, gain the skills that they need, when they are ready, they will move into an apprenticeship better armed than they would have been before. I think one of the big successes is the recognition that there are young people operating below level 2, and that we're not actually setting them up to fail by putting them onto qualifications where they're not going to achieve an A star to C. What we are doing, though, is giving them qualifications that will give them something real and tangible for the future. City and Guilds are passionate about unleashing talent in all learners, but particularly within the young people. They are the workforce of tomorrow, and we need to embrace them, and we need to help them make that next step up the ladder. The key part about foundation learning is that there are 3 core elements to a foundation learning programme. There's a vocational element, there's a personal social development element, and there are functional skills. All of these 3 combined together give the right foundations for a learner that's moving into an apprenticeship, onto a full level 1 or 2, or even onto university. I think what we need to do when we're thinking about foundation learning is remind ourselves this is not just about a small cohort of young people. We know that across the country 50% of young people are operating below A star to C. We need to give those people the opportunity to make that next step.